So let's get started. I've been a practicing architect for 22 years as a licensed architect, and we're going to be talking about the Twin Towers and Building 7 today. Just as architecture and engineering projects are sometimes joyful, sometimes quite difficult, this particular one has proven to be one of the most difficult. Not difficult in terms of reaching conclusions, however, but difficult in terms of the implications of those conclusions. And finding people open-minded and willing enough to come and listen to the evidence. Because as you'll see today, once people listen to this evidence, they see it, they do get on board. So the difficulty is bringing them to the table. My commitment to you tonight is to speak the truth. I believe that you'll come to an updated understanding to what is science and what is conspiracy. Please, though, don't believe me. We're not looking for believers. Check out every fact that you hear. After all, it's extremely important that we know the whole truth about 9/11. After all, it served as the pretext for the invasion of two countries in which already over 1 million people have perished. And of course, the loss of many of our hard-won freedoms through legislation such as the Military Commissions Act, the Patriot Act, and so forth. Well, a host of other ills, of course, evolved out of 9/11. Now all of this remains intact if we continue to ignore or sweep the truth about 9/11 under the rug. And only the truth about 9/11 will stop another 9/11 type attack from happening again. This is why we must dedicate ourselves to finding out exactly what happened and why, and to bringing those actually responsible to justice. So these are among the many reasons that we must peer back into this painful part of our recent history and re-examine the relatively new physical evidence that we've not seen in the mainstream media. As one of our mentors, Joe Princiota, points out, to identify the perpetrator, first know the crime. So today we focus on the forensic evidence found at the crime scene and the eyewitness testimony. I've been an architect in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm now devoting 100% of my time to this cause. Tonight you're going to see why. Like many other architects, though, I've designed numerous steel-frame, fireproof buildings in my career, including these $3 and $10 million gymnasiums, and the construction administration for this $120 million high school. And most recently, the construction documents for this $400 million mixed-use project in Nevada with 2 million square feet of retail parking structure and fireproof steel frame mid-rise office space. Altogether, about 1,200 tons of steel framing. Do Americans really want a new investigation? Well, Scripps Howard Ohio University poll finds of 1,000 people, 36% of us do. It's not a fringe phenomenon, they say. It's a mainstream political reality. Let's find out why. In fact, another poll finds in 2007 that 16% of Americans believe that the Twin Towers were brought down by explosives. Let's do our own poll here, find out where we are in this room, although I think I have some idea. We do this all across the world. I've given 150 presentations. And it's just wonderful to see half the audience, at least in some places, say, yeah, that official story, why not? That's what we were told. So that's one question I'll ask you. Do you believe the official story that the jet planes impacted the buildings, that there was a large explosion, a fire, a weakening of the structural steel by the fire, and a gravitational collapse down to the ground? So that's our first question. The second question is, I'm really not sure. And the third, that would be the answer to the second question. And then the answer to the third question would be, I believe they were brought down by explosive demolition. So first question first, how many believe they were brought down by explosive controlled demolition? Lots and lots. How many are unsure at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 unsure. And I need help writing these. Would somebody volunteer to be my secretary today? Thank you, Sandra. 14 unsure, and we'll need a whole body count. Well, that's a bad term. A whole count of heads. Head count. Also. And then finally, how many of us believe the official excuse me, the official story. I got it backwards. I always start out with the official story. About how the towers came down. According to the official story, we're pretty much there. No reason to believe otherwise. Hold up your hand real high. And I'm sorry if you're feeling intimidated. I can't help that. But be brave. One, thank you very, very much. Anybody else? Official story? Thank you. And so we'll see how we do as we come along here with the evidence.
Any abstentions?
Any abstentions? Any CIA, FBI? Well, guess what? We have the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, tells us that they found no evidence for explosive controlled demolition. Later, they acknowledged that they never looked for it. Well, how can we find what we're not looking for? They refuse to look for it today, as a matter of fact. But thousands of architects, engineers, and others looked for it, and it wasn't hard to find. We've been speaking about it for 3.5 years now ourselves, as architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. We now have, as you heard, over 1,000 architects and engineers staking their reputations, their licenses, their degrees on the line, and we're going to find out why today. So, let me catch up with you here. Great. Yeah, every time we do this, something new happens. It's absolutely fun. I cannot advance the slide. Let's try this. That doesn't work. Fascinating. I'm going to restart PowerPoint. And at this point, I'll take my first question. Fire! First question, right here. Real loud. You got to scream. Wow. That's a pretty interesting question. We're going to discover what the scientists found in the World Trade Center dust, and it is rather extraordinary. And as the young lady mentioned, we find evidence of very, very high-tech explosives. We're going to get into that deeply, and we'll talk about why that cannot be paint. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'm having more success already. This is great. I'll take my next question. Fire. Too late. Here's our website. On the right side, there's bullet points of evidence. You can take links to Jim Hoffman's excellent site, WTC7.net. And in the middle, you can sign the petition when you find yourself convinced that this information needs to be acted upon. Down below, there's plenty of informational articles for you, interviews we've done, and so forth. On the left side, you can actually purchase the DVD, and you can step through the PowerPoint as well, and you can support us financially, which is a very important thing for you to be doing, as we'll come to. And 9/11, just the sound of it brings us back to that shock-filled morning where thousands of us were killed and our cultural icons destroyed before our eyes. We're placed in a state of shock. Maybe the 8 years since has given us enough time, or 9 years, to step back and evaluate rationally what actually happened. It hasn't been enough time. I mean, this is not dissimilar from